Hello and what is up guys, my name is YUGIOH, I'm from Screencasters as always, and I'm coming to you now with a discussion on some easy ways to use some of the draw power cards available in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. If you guys don't know, this is actually a two-part collab video. If you guys want to see the other part featuring my friend Davinator1212, there'll be a link to it down below. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So the first card I'm going to talk about today is actually Card of Demise. It's a very powerful card that got released in the Millennium Pack. It's the only card worth mentioning in the Millennium Pack, if I can be honest with you. By now, most people know how to use Card of Demise, but people don't really know what decks to splash it into. It's pretty obvious. You can put it in Senjus, Cleafort, hell, even Counter Fairies. But what people don't seem to understand is the card really helps a lot of the rogue decks in more ways than one. The most optimal way to use Card Demise is actually set your whole hand, activate Card Demise, draw potentially 3 cards, activate wherever you see fit, and basically draw into some of your back row to help stun your opponent as you basically stun them for game. Because most of the time when you're using Card Demise, you're playing a very trap-oriented deck like Counter Fairies or Cleaforts. It also has some utility in Senjus because you can reorder your chains because both of them do activate at the same time during end phase. So if you resolve Demise first and then put your Senjus back in your hand, they don't get discarded. The biggest drawback of this card is you can't do battle damage this turn, and you cannot special summon, which is a big deal, which is kind of the reason why it doesn't work in a lot of combo-oriented monster-heavy decks, like Quasar Synchro, Plant Synchro, Heretics, and even Blue Eyes. Some cards even get pluses from being discarded, so this actually rolls into our next card we're going to talk about today, which is Into the Void. I haven't seen this done often, but basically you can combo Card Demise and Into the Void very easily, especially in our favorite deck of all time, which is Dark Worlds. The way that Card Demise is worded is basically after you resolve it, you're going to have 3 cards in hand. And Into the Void is very convenient because if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, you can activate it and draw a card and everything gets discarded during end phase. It's basically a more watered down Card of Demise. But that's not to say you can't activate both of them in the same turn. So basically you set your whole hand, activate Card Demise, draw 3 cards, and then you have Into the Void set, activate it, draw another card, and you're basically in the same kind of situation because everything's going to be discarded anyway. You just got an extra free card to use on your opponent. And if you're playing Dark Worlds, it doesn't matter if everything gets discarded, you're going to be plussing off it. There's a lot of ways you can utilize these cards, especially comboed together, so I'm very anxious to see what you guys think about that. Another card that's very infamous in Dark Worlds for some reason is Allure of Darkness. It's a very popular draw card. Basically, you draw 2 cards and then you banish a dark monster. This works very well in the very meta deck that is known as Cosmos because you can banish your Dark Destroyer and then get it back with Cosmo Town. Hell, you can even use Strawman with it to special summon that Dark Destroyer. Since most of the deck is light and dark, you can fit in some Chaos stuff in there, so you can banish them and then get them back with Cosmo Town. And it's a very nice mechanic. But the way you use Allure of Darkness is very interesting, even though it's kind of a neutral card where you're not really plussing off it because you're using your 1 Allure of Darkness to draw 2 cards, and then you're losing that Allure of Darkness and the card you're banishing. So basically you're drawing 2 and losing 2 cards in your hand. So it's kind of a neutral card. Card Demise, you have a potential to +2 off it. Basically, you activate it, draw 3 cards if you have nothing in hand. And one of those 3 cards is going to be equal to the Card Demise you use, so you basically got 2 free cards off it, which is a +2. You used 1 card to get 3 cards, that's a +2. Going back to Card Demise, if you're playing it, you're not going to be special summoning that much that turn anyway. So what's another draw power card that works by not using special summons? Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality is a very interesting card that has a lot of thought put into it. You excavate 3, pick 1, add them to your hand, you can't special summon for the entire turn. Basically what it does is it looks at what you're about to draw, and you pick what you want to draw, and you add it to your hand and replace it with Pot of Duality, so it's more so of a going even card than a minus. Cards like that where you break even to draw are very hard to come by. Like Hand Destruction, you draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Basically using 3 cards, the 2 cards you discard and the Hand Destruction, to draw 2 cards. So you're actually going minus because you're losing 1 card from your hand to do this. And most of them are actually traps, like Legacy of Yatagarasu, Jar of Greed. Those are actually equal cards. You draw a card and it takes only 1 card to do it, but it's very slow, so you can't activate them immediately. That's why cards like Upstart Goblin and Pot of Duality are very important to this game, because you break even and don't really go minus. They're not that slow, but they still do what they're meant to do, but a lot faster and a lot more quicker. You're basically using Pot of Duality in decks that rely on their normal summons a little bit more, like Senjus or Hunterstun, Boojins, and even counter fairies. Basically, if you're more so trying to stun your opponent, Pot Duality is one of those cards you need because it helps you dig into the deck, especially if you're looking for cards that you can't really search. Pot Duality is one of the best cards to search what you need for. Like if you're playing Charmers and you need to search for your trap card Unpossessed. You can't really search it easily, but having Pot Duality go to top 3 cards of your deck to see if it's in there really helps dig in for what the combo pieces you need to get. The last card we're going to talk about today is actually Reckless Greed. Basically activate it, draw 2 cards, and you skip your next 2 draw phases. This card actually has the potential to plus if you activate it in multiples. Let's say you activate 2 Reckless Greeds at the same time. You draw 4 cards and skip your next 2 draw phases. Reckless Greed does not stack if you activate it at the same time as another Reckless Greed. So you draw 4 cards, only skip 2 draw phases. If you don't count losing your draw phase the next 2 turns as minuses, you're actually going +2 because you're using 2 cards, the 2 copies of Reckless Greeds, to draw 4 cards. So you're using 2 to get 4. You're basically drawing 2 extra cards at the same cost, basically. And activating and resolving 3 is a potential +3. You basically want to use Reckless Greed in decks that you want to go really fast and want to get to their combo pieces and basically OTK the next turn. For example, if you can fit 2 Solemn Strikes and a Solemn Warning in a deck, you could theoretically put in 3 Reckless Greeds and basically speed up your deck a lot more. Yes, it's a little bit slower than Pot of Greed, but since Pot of Greed is banned and Pot of Greed being a true +1, Reckless Greed is one of the best replacements for it. For example, in Cyber Dragons, if you're using Reckless Greed, why? Because you need your Power Bond really quick. You can OTK your opponent incredibly easy once you get to it, but you can't really use Pot of Duality because your deck special summons a lot. Basically use Reckless Greed in decks that can't use Pot of Duality. Cyber Dragons, Galaxies, decks you want to OTK as quickly as possible while still special summoning out the ass. Heretics, for example. I've even seen arguments to use it in Synchro Fusionists, so yeah, those are the 5 draw power cards I want to talk about today. This is part 1 of a part 2 collaboration with Davinator1212. If you guys want to see his part, I'll put a link to it down below. So let me know what you guys think about these draw power cards, what decks do you plan on using each in, and what decks you do use each in. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. See you guys!
Hurry up! Give me my